Boom.
What's up? We're live. Hopefully this works.
We are live. Yeah, it looks like Facebook's having a little bit of issues on the desktop.
Yeah.
But
what's up, everybody? We are live, episode 17. As always, we're going to get this thing started. The Start, Build, Grow show. We have a great guest entrepreneur we're getting ready to bring on in just a minute. Nick's going to also introduce the show here in just a minute. But as always, let us know you're here. Say hi. Let us know where you're from. Yep. Let us know what you got going on. Just say hi. As always, we appreciate the interaction. If you got questions, go ahead and throw them out there. Questions, comments. Looks like we already got some people joining. What's up, Jason, Tim, Ruben? How's it going, Tim? We are going to go ahead and attempt to bring our guest on here, and then Nick will do the intro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. So this is episode 17. So episode
17
of the Start, Build, Grow show. We're actually going international.
This is an international edition. Yeah, we got Lateef getting ready to join in shortly. Looks like he just sent me the message.
Let's see. Let's get him on here.
There it is. Here we go.
Oh,
see if this works.
Yeah.
Says that. How's it going? Jameson, Lateef now watching. He's getting ready to join us.
There he is. Looking fresh.
What's up? See, I told you I'd be on time.
What's up?
How are you, sir?
How you doing, man? How you guys doing?
Good, man. Hey, thanks for joining us, man. Episode 17, Start, Build, Grow show. I just want to give a quick intro, man, and I'm going to let you kind of take over from there. But, we're super pumped to have you on. We got a rockstar guest and Lateef. You're pretty impressive, man, honestly. Like, you're the founder of, three different companies?
I don't remember anymore. But, yeah, it's Qualified Storm Leads, Bossupsolutions, 3 for Success, and then now we're introducing our drone leads and all the different minutiae that goes with that.
He's keeping them growing. I love it, man. Well, hey, you're really well known in the roofing industry. I know you're making a very positive impact in companies throughout the industry. Where I kind of wanted to start was just kind of like the beginning of your story. Now you're owning multiple businesses. You had to think about how many you're actually owning right now. How did you get started, and what's your background? Tell us a little bit about your story.
Man, a lot of the credit's due to my father. I mean, I ended up learning under him. He was an immigrant. Both my parents were immigrants. They came to the States in the early 70s, worked odd jobs, and he ended up building a pretty good career, and he built a pretty decent operation. It was a construction company, general contracting. We used to build homes, build out Starbucks, things like that. So I watched him as an immigrant because I think the work ethic a little bit, especially when you get into the millennials, has been lost. I got that work ethic from him. Like he beat me up. It was time to wake up. It was time to go here, pick up crap, move it over here. It wasn't like, oh, sit behind a desk. It was, I need you to throw this stuff out. I need you to do this demo work. I need you to, go pick up stones, rocks, installing silt fences. I mean, all that stuff I've done with my hands. And I realized after working for people, I just can't. I couldn't do the 9 to 5 per se. I had to do my own thing. So that's kind of how it began.
I can relate to that. I'm a third generation contractor myself, and early on it was, when I was a kid, I remember helping my dad build things and working. He had a wood shop, and I'd be in there till the middle of the night helping him, hold the boards as they're coming out of the planer, and just that ethic, that work ethic of getting things done regardless of timing. I think is something that tends to get lost sometimes.
We recently moved offices, and when we did that, when we got to this new office, this is day 11 from the day I took ownership. And in 11 days, we managed to paint the place, bust out walls, set up stations, move furniture. So like myself, I was installing floor, installing this wall behind me was me. It hasn't been grouted yet, so don't stare at it too close. But like literally installed that. Yeah, no, we gotta grout it. But so you gotta let it breathe. How you tile. You gotta let it breathe and actually set before you grout it. So basically, like, I was out here busting boat with these guys too, but my staff was amazing. They helped me so much. Everybody came in even the girls were coming in to help paint and do things like that. So it's pretty cool. I think leadership starts that way.
Yeah, that's a testament to the culture, right? Because you're a big culture company, and you really focus on trying to build a great culture, which helps extend your brand. And so we'll definitely get into that. Nick has another question here for you. Someone pass it on over to him.
Sure. So you mentioned some stuff about your worth ethic, right? And how you kind of learned that at a young age through your experiences and whatnot, and through your father. But then you also mentioned some millennial stuff, right? Where you felt like they've lost it a little bit. But I gotta say, man, I'm a proud millennial, right? So what tips do you have for some of those millennials out there that maybe are a little bit lazier or are still kind of looking for that work ethic?
Man, in today's day and age, we're able to see everything. Like we see cars, we see planes, we see all these accomplishments by people, and we immediately want to be that person. I want to be Grant Cardone. I want to be Tony Robbins. I want to be whoever. But what they don't understand is like, I always say, if you want to be in my shoes, have walked in my shoes. Like go through those steps. Right now, we feel it's immediate gratification. I think that's the problem with the millennials. They think immediate gratification. I buy cryptocurrency and it triples in 2 days. But the fact is, I mean, guys like you, me, we've gone through that process where we've actually made an attempt, failed, had to brush the dirt off, scrape the wounds, and move on to the next step and keep going. And I don't think that people get the fact that it's just because I do what Randy does doesn't mean I can do what Randy does. Randy's experience, his knowledge, his background, that's what makes you you. Same thing with me, like the stuff that I've done. I mean, having gone through whatever is what allows me to do it. I come in here sometimes and, not to my own horn, but sometimes like literally my IT guy who's sitting over there, like he'll be working on stuff and I'll point out something that I've learned through experience, and I think there's no substitute for experience. Don't rush it. Enjoy the ride. It's going to suck some days. It's going to be great some days. When it sucks, remember it'll pass. When it's great, remember that it'll also pass,
No.
You
know what? And my thoughts on that too is experience only comes with experience, right? I mean, maybe it's cliche, but you can't literally have enough experience to lead or teach someone else how to do something or even delegate without having done it, or at least learned it to a point where you know enough about it to be just a little bit dangerous, just know enough to know how to keep yourself out of trouble, right? So it's almost like a rite of passage that we tend to kind of forget because we see all these overnight successes on social media. Whereas
you hear these stories and a lot of these stories
overnight success.
These stories too, sometimes that people post and whatever. I mean, they don't. We see the good things. I show you my Facebook life. I show you what you need to see. I don't show you where my bank held up my money because some reason. I don't show you where my credit card terminal got messed up. I don't show you where my system went down and we had to like do 911 operation to get it back up. Those are things that we don't share, and we all share the good things. Hey, I'm standing in front of a pretty wall. I'm standing with some cute girls. I'm standing with this nice car. I'm standing with a successful whatever accomplishment because that's what we want to share. But I think that's what people miss in today's world is they don't get what it took to get there. And like I said, with my dad growing up in that family, I saw him go bankrupt. I saw him recover. I went through the same thing. And those struggles still remind me, I've slept in a car. I've done it. I know how it works. You have to figure those things out. And I think people just miss that. And part of it's our faults. The guys that have done stuff or that people watch, the influencers, whatever, we don't share those failures enough,
Yeah, well, hey, what are we doing? That's what this show is all about. I mean, we're changing the game. We're trying to disrupt the industry. Like, there's too much, glitz and glam. The top 1% of the top 1%, like standing on planes and crap like that. But we're trying to tell the real journey because the real journey, the reality of starting and building and growing a company is that it's not easy. It doesn't happen overnight. You have to go through certain ups and certain downs because it's all just part of the process of learning and growing and getting better. And those that learn fast and pick themselves up when they encounter obstacles, those are the ones that excel in the end and that make it in the end.
Yep. And, it's just things, and then having your purpose, having your why. Like, I don't know if you guys follow Eric Thomas much. I love that guy. But, that whole purpose that he has of, like, what's your why? I love that fact. I like to know what my purpose is. And my purpose, like, one of them's on this show right now. I see my daughter Amber watching. That's one of my reasons. And my other purpose is Farah. Like, I am not, the way I'm built, I'm not allowed to fail. Some days it'd be nice to just fail and just go sit on a beach and be homeless. And honestly, let it all go, because these headaches that you have to manage sometimes as you grow, they're a lot, especially for that middle entrepreneur who's stepping up to a bigger corporate level, because that transition, man, bringing in IT, bringing in janitorial, bringing in custodian, like, it's not easy. And you have to be prepared for it, and you're going to make mistakes.
And well, I'm going to have to elaborate on that because, we love your business model intrigues me. We talked about this because you know, the human business model, the model where you have to be able to hire, train, onboard, and produce at a high level, or your business doesn't work, is a very difficult thing to do. So let's go back into your journey and go back into
Yeah.
kind of what was your first kind of go round from learning all this stuff from your father and from your family being in business and being an immigrant. What was the moment that you ended up just saying, hey, you know what? It's my turn. I'm going into entrepreneurship. I'm going to make something happen to myself.
You know, I always want to prove myself to my dad, you know, and I always tried. And to be honest, I did it wrong every time because he taught me how to walk. I was ready to run because that's how you feel you are. So when I say that quote to the millennials, same way, it's just been amplified now. But I wanted to build stuff. And as I did it, I think it was probably the first time I was doing business on my own, trying to make something work. I did a couple of garage businesses, you know, wanted to make, you know, auto parts and some things like that. But when I actually was starting,
right?
yeah, I'll tell you about my race shop later. But basically, I had one. But basically, as that happened, you know, the first time I had to go back to my parents and borrow money in order not to be kicked out of the home that I was living in. And
Oh
he helped me
no,
out.
there he is.
He's
Okay,
back.
we're good. We're
Here's
good.
how I was
Hopefully.
Oh.
Slack. I got Slack messages and it's freezing us. Please don't do Slack. Okay, cool. I got
Yeah, get off the Wi-Fi, please.
and for some reason Slack like freezes us. I'm not sure what's going on there, but no, the first time, man, like actually having to put your head down and walk in and humble yourself and say, "Hey, Dad, I fucked up. I'm sorry." But you know, the idea is going there and feeling that, and then looking at my kids, knowing that, hey, man, if I can't support myself, I got married very early. I was married at 20, so the first time I thought that it's not just about me. Like if I fail, my kids, what happens to them? I mean, I want to be a certain person. I want to be a certain figure for them. And that's driven me my whole life saying, look, I need to be some sort of a role model. I want to be, I don't think I'll ever be where my dad was in the sense of like he was a great man, but I want to be on that level. I want people to talk about me after he's dead or after I'm dead. And I want people to hopefully aspire and grow from us. I mean, we've built some great entrepreneurs from our own business and it's great. And I love that. But the changing point was really the humbling point. The first failure, the first big failure where it didn't affect me. I had no problem. If I failed, I'll go sleep on my dad's couch. It was when you have a wife and kids at home and you fail and it's like, okay, what do we do? Like, what's going on here? And I think that woke me up a little bit. And my dad used to, you know, I was lazy, getting up when I want to, doing what I want to, you know, almost feeling like I already got there before I got there. And I didn't realize like putting in that extra time, man, and learning.
I love it, man.
That's like,
Yeah, you and I have the same kind of connection there because, you know, I was same thing, doing things for the wrong reasons early on, right? It's like, oh man, I'm going to start a business and I can't fail. It'll work, whatever. I went to business school. I know what I'm doing. I know how to build a house. I know everything, right? You kind of think you put the cart before the horse, you know, as kind of a millennial myself. You know, I went out and bought a boat. I had 2 trucks and I was just living the life. Next thing I know, I was completely broke trying to kind of figure out which truck I was giving up to the repo man. You know what I mean? So that lesson can be learned for all of the younger generation is you got to put in the work, establish
one
yourself.
thing that really helped me learn, and you're absolutely right, the one thing that helped me learn in relationship to what you just said was me spending time in foreign countries. Like my dad would travel us to, you know, he was background of Indian, so we would go back to India and I'd see people living with meager accommodations. I mean, think of the worst apartment you lived in your life, and I'm telling you that would probably be a decent place for some of these people. And going and visiting them, knowing they're your family, knowing they're your friends, and this is their day to day. And I'm here temporarily, but I get to escape in a week from this trip. That also taught me how to live that hardship. And then, as you know now, my business is based here in Guadalajara, Mexico. That's where I'm at right now. Being here and seeing the struggle that people go through, seeing what they work with, seeing the challenges they have, it does humble you, and you want to not only improve for yourself. Of course, we all want to be better, but improving them too, having a purpose not beyond yourself. Like I want other people around me. I think I was telling you earlier, when we started, I think we only had like, you know, 1 person with a car in this office, and now, you know, there's like 8, 9, 10 cars that people are driving, and I want 50 cars. Like, I want everyone to have cars. No more public transportation. Everyone should be able to afford their own shit.
Yeah. It's those
But
little accomplishments that you're like, I get off on watching other people grow. Like when someone buys a new house that is employed by your organization, or somebody that buys a new car, that just instills that they're confident in where they are in life. And to know that I built or started a business that contributed to that is just, that's way better. It's a way better, experience over money, hands down. Like there's no amount of money, there's no amount of a check that I can deposit that can replace the gratification of seeing someone else, take a great leap
someone
in their own
succeed.
personal life. That's awesome.
Someone succeeding and saying, hey, thanks. I had an ex-employee today after we turned over that other office. He happened to go into the other office apparently, and he messaged me. I haven't talked to him for a while, and he's just like, man, I just want to thank you for what I learned from you. I walked in this office and I had tears coming out of my eyes because I remember all the things we did and learned. And look, I made my mistakes. I still make my mistakes. I think anyone who can't own up to their mistakes is crazy. I try to bite off more than I can chew, but I figure out a way. We're launching, this drone program or whatever, but I can tell you that it's been a monumental feat, especially when you involve a move and you have a moving part of, I think we're like 60, 70 employees. I mean, all these moving parts, dealing with it. You have to put in that time. You have to make sacrifices. I can't go out tonight. I can't travel and go see some game that my kid's in. I can't, just drink it up tonight and chill out because I want to have a night for myself. I mean, you get those moments, and that's what we share on Facebook, and that's what people see, and they think that's how you live 365, but it's not. And that's kind of what I think people need to start seeing is the work that goes behind it.
Yep, it's also a beautiful thing about Facebook is if you do it in the right way, you can tell your story from a more authentic place than just posting pictures of the cars and the vacations and stuff. Hey, we all love that stuff. It's fun, it's great entertainment. But the reality is that with social media and with my stories and all these sort of things, you can really, tell a much better, more authentic story about the real life, happenings of an entrepreneur. So
yeah, I mean, nobody says, hey, my bank account was overdrawn yesterday. Nobody says that, oh shit, I had to borrow money from somebody to make payroll or make rent. Nobody brags about that stuff. I mean, but look, we've all been through it. That's reality. That's
when I went public and live, and I literally wrote the story in my book on how I ended up in a place where I literally had to file bankruptcy. Like that took a lot. Like that was the okay, here it is, world. I'm here. Judge all you want, but I did it. I learned from it, and it was looking back, I wouldn't change it because I grew so much from that at such a young age. It's allowed me to completely change my life and catapult my career into a place where now I focus almost all my time on helping others, and I won't change it for the world. So you kind of have to go through that. I think Nick, let's get back to Nick. He's got another question here for you.
Yeah, what do you got, Rick?
Yeah, for sure. So, I was actually on your Facebook before this, and you had a quote on your intro, right? And it was, set a clear goal, plan a daily step to get closer, and execute that step, and then repeat tomorrow, right? Yep. And I did some further research because I love that quote, right? Because I think a lot of us struggle to really understand what we really want, right? And then actually executing on a plan for that. And what your business is 3 for success. And you have 3 steps for success, right? You have consistency, planning, and execution. Can you give us a little bit of a high-level overview that people watching can actually implement those steps into their life and their business?
Yeah, so as I traveled into Mexico and opened this business, I put those posts up with those parties and those pictures and everything, and people started saying, hey, I follow you, I like your advice, and I was like, really? Like, what are you talking about? What advice? I started thinking about it, and the common thing was, how do I do what you do? And I think we overcomplicate. I know we could all write books, and I'm writing a book. I think Ray wrote a book, but I'm telling you, some of the things are very basic where it's like, set a clear goal, and that was my first thing. Like, you got to have a clear goal. And this is the same thing I taught my kids. I want to share it with the world. That's what 3 for Success was about. It was like, set a clear goal, and now understand it's going to take steps to get there. So make one defined action towards that goal. So if it's a diet, like, okay, today I will have a healthy breakfast. That's just one thing. Right? Do that one thing today and execute it. Like plan it, execute it. consciously. If you want to be spiritual, say you're going to have a prayer today. If you want to, improve on your education, say I'm going to read a chapter, or I'm going to watch a YouTube video, I'm going to study some course, whatever it is. Execute that one thing. I think we overplan because we want to get to the finish line so fast. But if you really think about the work we put in, nobody does 365 days of the consistent habits. Once you do that, and the word I just used, habit, it's about making it habit and not making it force. We have these guys out there, and I don't mean to bash anyone, but like the 10X thing, right? Like, oh, go 10 times heavy in one area. Well, I'm background Indian. If you 10X one thing, you're 10 dividing another thing.
Yep.
Right? So I focus on my business, and I've done this, and I mess up my relationship. It wasn't what I was trying to do. If you've ever seen those life wheels that talk about, like, whatever wheel is, so you have spirituality, growth, family, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's about just touching them, not just touching them once or twice, but touching them daily and saying, hey, I did one action towards it. At the end of the day, that's 365 actions. If I took 365 times to tell my wife, my girlfriend, my kids, whoever that I love them, they're going to know I love them at the end of the year. And guess what? That just becomes habitual for you. You do it every day. If you every day read a chapter, it becomes habitual. If every day you work out, it becomes habitual. Now, some things, you don't do every single day. You do twice a week. You do once a month. That's fine. But it's planning that stuff and executing it. Oh, God. Next time, remind me to log.
No more Slack.
I got to log out of stuff. Hey, excuse me, once. Could you put up?
We'll get the technical stuff figured out here. How's everybody going, man? I saw Brian. I saw you got Brandon, Steve, Lee. What's up, my dude? How you doing, Lee?
Yeah, if we got any questions too, that would be
awesome. If you got some questions, fire away, and we're going to continue the dialogue here for another few minutes.
Red over there. So I see a lot of people. Steve's on there. I saw my daughter on there earlier. Are you able to hear me, guys? I just want to make sure.
Yep, we got you back. Okay. We got you back. So let's go back into real quick, like how I think it's interesting how you ended up. I think you kind of ended up in the space that you're in, and you kind of got there through roofing. Let's talk about that story a little bit.
Yeah. So I was a GC. My dad was a GC. So I was working on the cars, and I got out of that because a friend wanted to build a house, friend's parents, and I started building that house. And then I decided I was gonna, build a house for this guy and contract and manage it. As I did that, things went really well. It was very early success, which was nice. And I tell people, like, for example, I use this example. I go, there's people that want a Lamborghini, and it's a dream. It's like, I want a Lamborghini. That'd be very cool. You aspire to that. It's another thing to have a Lamborghini and have lost it. It changes who you are because you're like, okay, so I've been that person. I had early success. I built a lot of homes. I bought subdivisions. I had 50 acres that I was developing. I built probably 50, 60 homes. I also subdivided several properties that I flipped. My claim to fame back then was I bought a property for $175,000 and flipped it for $285,000 the same day because I had it rezoned while it was under contract. And basically, I already had a buyer lined it up. So things were going great. But then that economy thing happened, And I wasn't saving. I was buying boats. I was buying stuff. I was doing trips, having fun, partying. And then a friend of mine who ran a call center, mutual acquaintance, he ended up telling me, hey, I'll make appointments if you'll do construction leads. And I was like, I've never been in the insurance business. I had done one insurance claim for a friend, but that was it in my life. And I'm, probably sitting at 2009, so 23 or so, something like that. And I'm like trying to figure it out. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. So I started seeing the potential, and I started liking the roofing business. Very interesting. She's here somewhere. Just tell them.
We're live. This is live, baby. We're live.
so we're live, man. So anyways, so when I did that, it took me to a different place. What I ended up doing was actually starting to do that. And then I realized, okay, if this will work in Illinois, which is where I was, could it work in Oklahoma because it's winter in Illinois, because winter shuts down business. So we did Oklahoma. And then I started doing pretty well. But that's where another failure set in. All of a sudden, I'm recovering from my first failure. First one that I mentioned here. And then I'm doing well. And next thing you know, I went from 4 salesmen to 40 salesmen, something that, you know, I mean, I think it's great what you're doing with the stuff you're putting out there to help show people how to manage more people, because I wish I had that education then. I didn't. And I got 40 people because if 4 is good, 40 is 10 times better, right?
That's what we think, right? Until we get 40 times the headache.
So a couple of these guys ended up stealing some money and doing some things, some shady stuff. We don't have to get into that, but here's what happened. You know, me, full disclosure, Attorney General came after me. Said, hey, you're roofing without a license. I'm like, I'm a GC. I can do that. We get in an argument. And when you work with any Attorney General, God bless, if nobody should ever have to deal with that. But if you do, there's no winning. That you can't win. You have to go at their pace, at their speed, and deal with their process. So we shut down roofing. I got sick of it, and they were threatening a lot of things, so we stopped. While I did that, knowing out of 500 jobs I did that year, only 5 jobs were in question. That's 1%. I guarantee you, if you look up the Hyatt Regency, they have a higher level of complaints than 1%. You know, but we had 1% complaints, but hey, it didn't matter. We were on a radar.
All it takes is
during
one.
During that process, I had opened up a call center for my roofers. I was building those appointments because if they saw 3 people a week, how could I get them to see 30 people a week? I started helping a buddy with his appointments. Then I started helping another buddy with his appointments, and then another buddy. And then by the time I won against the state, I had developed where we had 50, 60 customers back in, what was it, 2010, that Arizona storm. That one catapulted us. And I was like, I don't want to do roofing anymore. I'm good. I mean, we won. That's great. I wanted my name clear. But other than that, I don't want to do it. So we decided to, you know,
I don't blame you. We all should just quit roofing because it definitely is challenging.
No, and I love outside looking in and watching roofing companies. And for me, I wasn't ready for that. It wasn't my calling, I guess. I enjoy helping you guys, the roofers out there, by doing leads. And that's where we started doing that. And that's where that transitioned into now what we've become is, as a consultant for some companies, just as friends at first and later on by billing them, I started realizing common problems. And that led to, you know, the app development. That led to the Bossupsolutions. That led to other stuff by basically seeing, you know, what I say. I mean, if you want to create a business, find a problem, make a solution, and offer it.
Yeah, or improve on a problem, right? So we have a couple questions here. Right on that. I know one person. What they say about the drones?
Yeah. Let's see. Does the drone get full coverage of the damage?
So maybe just elaborate a little bit
about your drone
on the drone stock.
Drones, again, something's happened by being in the right place, right time. I have a friend of mine who was using the drones at B360, the wind company. Sorry for the plug, but anyways, they were doing these reports. It's supposed to be artificial intelligence that scans this and removes layers and finds damage. Basically, you fly a drone over a house. It does do full coverage around the home. They do video and everything. So we have like not 1,000, maybe like 50 photos per house that are turned into an AI report, turns in a beautiful little report. We decided that, you know, this company wanted us to market their product to companies like yours, say, hey, why don't you guys use this company? And I said, well, what would be better is what if I could actually set an appointment for a drone pilot to go out there, inspect it, and then go ahead and then follow up with this homeowner, because these old methods of door knocking and telemarketing, what we do, they still work, but they have become more difficult. There is other ways. We do live in a virtual world. We have to develop. So the drones do offer full coverage, to answer your question. It is a program that I will tell you, honestly, we've been struggling with to get it launched and get it going the way we want to. Hard lesson. The week I started doing this, and we were doing a couple of reports, and we were batting, you know, I think we did it for about a month and a half. We're batting like 60, 70% close. So loving it. A storm hits in Dallas. That week, I had over 800 inspections in Dallas. 800 reports, 800 pilot, you know, like paying the pilots, 800 appointments we set. And man, I realized big mistake, not a fresh storm product. And 800 appointments, whatever that cost was, after eating that, it was like, whoa. So a lot of my guys that were on board, ready to get going. Again, this is entrepreneurship. You realize you make a mistake, analyze it quickly, recover from it, make the changes that need to be made. And I said, hey, fresh storm, I mean, by the time I get you the report 2 days from today, someone's come up and signed the deal. That percentage dropped dramatically.
That's going to be a middle. Well, that's a great segue, because, you know, there's a lot of people who, and it came up today in a conversation I had, was, you know, the difference between, you know, retail versus insurance work and storm damage work. you know, a storm comes in 3 phases. The first phase is the low-hanging fruit. Everybody in there, everybody with a pulse is knocking doors, trying to just sign up and get as many clients as they possibly can. The next phase are the clients that are either the referrals or the references or the slow movers, the ones that are methodically, you know, doing their homework, doing their research, going online, checking reviews. That's the second phase of the storm. And then the third phase is the late movers. The people are want to wait till after the season, or an extension of referrals, or a tertiary referral, if you will. That's the third phase, and you got to kind of strategize around each phase to be able to maximize each phase of the
It depends on your it depends on your business model. I mean, if you want to go for low hanging fruit, that's great. But I personally, whenever I did that roofing thing, I felt like, you know, a day after the storm, somebody getting signatures. Of course, we paid them their commission, but it really, that's easy work. A real sale requires effort, requires follow up, requires whatever. So that second phase you move into after those easy pickings, if you would, that's when it really starts, and that's when it becomes, who is the company? What is your brand? Who are you personally? Because first I gotta like you. Because if that doesn't work, forget it.
Mm-hmm.
But if I like you, now the next step is, who do you represent? Who are you from? Who are you people? What are your reviews? What are these things? And you know what? We make appointments for hundreds of companies, and a lot of times when they don't convert, we're talking to customers because we do follow-up surveys. It's because the company's had a bad review. They had someone post something negative about them. And again, using that Hyatt Regency example and my example, everyone has something negative out there. The problem is we don't take time to get the positive stuff posted and positive stuff out there. We don't ask for reviews publicly. Today's world, if you have one bad review, you have a 1-star rating. If you have 50 good reviews and one bad review, you'll probably still be a 5-star. But we don't take time to build that. Nobody spends time doing it.
We talk about that so much in our program and a lot of the consulting stuff I do. It's, you know, reviews are important because reviews is the ultimate mediary. You know, you can be a huge company or a really small company going against a huge company, and you have someone online that's a third party saying ABC Roofing is a good contractor. They don't know that ABC Roofing is one guy driving around a truck. If that contractor, you know, did a good enough job to convince a homeowner to go online and leave them a positive review, that's a powerful thing.
Yeah,
we don't pay.
And it's communication, and the problem that happens with these growing companies too, because we grow so much. So it's kind of like when I managed my own jobs. I had like 4 or 5 jobs. Easy. I could stay in communication with everybody. I know your first name. I know your kid's name. I know where he goes to school. I know what sport he plays. You know, all that stuff. But when you get to 40 or 50, it's hard to manage. Then when you get to 50 to 100, 100 to 200, so we lose. A lot of companies wonder what's changed. It's like a lot hasn't changed. It's also us. That personal attention went away. So if you're not going to do it, find a way to do it. You know, figure out that process, hand it off, delegate it. And I think as entrepreneurs, a lot of us, we're one-man shows. You know, we handle everything, and we need to learn how to train someone to do what we do. Otherwise, you know, what happens? Like this, what happens if I get hit by a bus? Who does what I do? You know, and if you haven't handed it off, you probably will be broke pretty quick. You know,
which I mean, and we got Nick has another question here. I think you and I both can chime in on. So we'll just go into that.
Cool. So we actually have Brian Sparks, who's watching right now, asked, how do you keep yourself focused and motivated for the long haul?
Man, I think you got a weekly. So Sunday I do something called like a week review, just myself. I'll go in there and I'll look through what's happened this past week. What do we want to do? I basically try to make targets that are achievable during the week, but I also set my bigger targets. But it's the same thing. That 3 for Success app is kind of how I live my life. Every day, make a goal towards it. You know, write that goal down, write it down in the app or write it down, however you do it, and then make sure you execute it. And guess what? Sometimes we don't. We just forget something. Life takes over. That phone rings and there's an issue, there's a concern, but try to get to it. I think making sure to complete that task for the day is very important. Staying focused is difficult, especially when the more parts you have around you, man, the more things that weigh in. Like this last week, making this move happen while we're doing drones, while we're doing moving boss up stuff, while we're doing whatever. Oh my God, it's difficult. I mean, give me some advice. What do you do? Randy, what's your thing?
Well, yeah, and it's definitely a challenge.
I mean,
I'm open about it. One of my biggest challenges is overall just balancing, you know, because of the mental capacity. You know, you think you got to switch from roofing to coaching to marketing to parenting to being a
Yes.
husband, you know, to being a father. Like you have to be able to change
Yes.
those shift those gears and be able to do it in a way that doesn't affect each one as you shift through. So hey,
Yeah.
that's a challenge. One thing I do
And
is go ahead.
no, I was saying that that life wheel kind of helps me bring things back into perspective. One thing I do every night, it's really weird, and I haven't done it in all reality for about 3 weeks, but every night I got this little digital recorder. I've never played it back, but I go out and I talk to myself. It's weird, but I talk to myself and I talk about my day. I talk about what's going on. I talk about my plans. I talk about what's going on in my life, what I need to do. It sometimes helps to vocalize that and get it out. And when I started doing that, it actually helped me kind of relieve my stress because no matter what problem you have, when you put it into words, you kind of figure out that it's a problem. It's also got a solution. You know, you just got to work on it. So, I mean, that's another thing that's helped me focus sometimes because we get so much clutter in here, and unless we could get it out, it sits in here. So it's like better to speak it out to the world. And I know that doesn't organize it necessarily, but there's a weird mental effect that happens by voicing your day.
Yeah.
You know, this is
Well,
why people
here's
kept
something
diaries
you
back.
alluded to this earlier, and I'll elaborate on this a little bit and talk about finding your why. So that's directly correlated. The question we're trying to answer here is how did you keep yourself focused and motivated for the long haul, right? And I think it starts with why, and that's the title of the book I'm trying to promote here. Simon Sinek. I'm sure you've read that one. If you haven't,
Yeah.
I mean, it was a game changer, life changing book for me. I mean, it just puts so many things in perspective and it just helps you dial in exactly what your internal motivation is. Like, are you extrinsically motivated? Are you intrinsically motivated? Do you have kids? Do
Yep.
you have wife? Do you have family? Do you just have such a desire to travel, or you just want the car, you want the big house, or whatever? You got to kind of channel that why, like what makes you tick, and then you just got to pour fuel on that, and always
Yep.
keep that top of mind. Write it on your mirror. Do something to keep your why top of mind and link that to your big, hairy, audacious goal of $100 million roofing company or Lamborghini or whatever. Like couple your why with something that's a long-term, long haul type of goal. And then you just got to regress and just attack that one minor, small goal at a time. Set small goals to reach those big goals.
He's talking about what book. We got Brian Sparks asking what book. Simon Sinek, which was the title?
It's
He
called
was asking.
Start with Why.
Mhm.
Why great leaders inspire others.
Yep. So no, I mean, and I love Marquez asking for some juiciness. We're happening, but look, here's the other thing I've learned: putting people down doesn't raise you up. And I'm just throwing this in there because it's a sidebar of another conversation that's going on in my followers or whatever. You don't want to. I don't get better by saying Randy's lower. You know, I don't want Randy to be lower. Randy should be the best person he can be. I need to be the best person I can be. And sometimes I get it. Some people deserve to be put down, but you know what? I don't have
Hey,
time for it. Just get them out of here. Move on.
that's not our call. That's not our place to ever put anybody down or
No.
expose. Like take out what's the biblical saying? You got to take the needle out of your own eye before you focus on the log in someone else's eye. It's I don't get that. And I try to stay far away from that sort of thing because
Yep.
and I'm in my mind, and this also correlates with everybody comparing themselves to one another and judging one another and always worried about what everyone else is doing. Forget that, man. Compete against yourself.
Yep. That's the
I'm my
only person you
biggest
gotta
critic.
beat.
I'm my biggest competitor, so why not focus on competing against myself? If I can wake up every single day and try to be better today than I was yesterday, good luck keeping up to the competition. That's how I feel about it. So I don't worry about what others are doing, what others are saying. So I'm obviously very in tune with what's going on around me and social media and who's doing what. But I don't worry about that stuff. As long as I'm focused on getting better, that's all that matters in my book.
I did a little video clip a while back, and I had a light match that I lit. You know, basically sitting there going like, here is this match, and here you go. Here's a flame. Here's somebody talking stuff about you on the internet or whatever it may be. And I'm like, if you wait, the match will just burn out, right? But the minute I add fuel to it, and I had an aerosol can, and I blew fuel to it, when it ignites and explodes, that's how you get into these little pissing matches between each other. And I've done it before. I'm very guilty of it, especially like if we talk politics or religion, like we were talking, you get into this match going back and forth. But it's better if we just let it pass, own up to your part of it. Don't get into a pissing match with people. Move on. I mean, there's very little time in this world that we should be spending on other people. If they're not worth it, don't spend it. Do the best you can and admit your failures. I mean, what's the one guy who says shit on yourself first? Like basically, hey, here's where I failed. Let me tell you right now about the time I went bankrupt. Let me tell you about the time I screwed up. Let me tell you about that. I mean, don't wait for someone else to do it. Do it yourself. What are you going to do after I disarmed you? I already told you everything negative about me. What can you possibly say now?
Yeah.
So I'm going to turn it a little bit here because we're kind of winding down. There's a couple things I wanted to talk about for sure. I've noticed, especially with Bossupsolutions, you guys have done a great job with branding, networking, and stuff like that. Do you have any advice to companies in terms of those methods, like digital marketing, branding, and networking to help grow your business?
I mean, the thing is, like any business that we're doing or any operation you're doing, most of us are creative entrepreneurs. We can create, how should I market my business? What message am I trying to get across? What post should I put in daily? Should I do this action or that action? The problem that happens for us is our time goes away. So, I mean, I use 3 words: optimize, automate, delegate in any of my speeches. And optimize means take a look at what you're doing and figure out the most efficient way to do it. Find a good way to do it. Learn it and get it right. Once you get it right, automate. In other words, like whatever systems you can put in that automatically do stuff for you. There's a lot of things that automatically post or automatically give information or auto replies, whatever it is. Do that. The next step from there is delegate. And this is where I think most entrepreneurs fail. And doing Boss Up was definitely a learning curve for this too. People would delegate. They'd be like, okay, put my jobs in job nimbus. Great. How? How do you want them in there? How do you like them in there? And we kind of explain things, and I'm guilty of this too. I explain things like, just do it. I'm not at the point where I'm like, oh, let's sit down and here's what I want you to do. Here's what you label the file. Here's the name convection. Here's this. Here's that. But we need to slow down as entrepreneurs sometimes and take the time to teach someone properly. Let them make their mistakes and then repeat it. And if you can't do it, like universities, kind of like I think what you guys might be working on, the universities and stuff where you have training courses where you are actually, you get it right once, and then now you can set it on autopilot, let people run it. So a lot of the little things we did, following up with customers, following up with homeowners, following up with, billing, sending out invoices, all that stuff. If I'm not going to do it, I make sure someone's there to do it for me. And, we keep getting it better, but we also still have our challenges.
So before I ask the last question, where can people find you online, connect with you online?
Man, I'm an open book. So it's Qualified Storm Leads. Qualified Storm Leads is Facebook. Lateef Farooqui is my name. You can find me there. My Bossupsolutions is my other website. 3 for Success is another website. You can find us on all those. Lateef@bossupsolutions.com is my email. My personal cell phone is 847-338-8558. I hand out everything. I'm very open, man. I'm very open. It's on the bottom of every signature. You got to be available to people. If I don't answer, 100%. Don't let me.
Hey, I got a door knocking job available if you want it. I'm gonna call you. I'll be calling you tomorrow.
All right, sounds good. Do it. I love to help when I can. I love to get by it.
We're trying to end every episode now with a key takeaway, right? So remember, the people that are watching, they're contractors, they're business owners, they're people who want to own their own business. Maybe some of them are doing really well, some are struggling. What's a key takeaway you could leave these guys that they can start implementing in this week into their business?
You can't. The thing for me, and the reason I built Boss Up, not to make a plug, but really what it means in concept is, there's things that we can only grow so much by doing ourselves. We have to get help, and we have to get people around us, the right people around us. So find what it is you do, list it off. I used to have a consultant who used to give me a project, which was write down everything you do every hour. He's made me stop and write down what I did. And at the end of the week, he said, we started grading him, and we said, what do you like out of this? What energizes you? Never stop doing that. What do you kind of do but someone else could do? Start figuring out how to hand it off. What do you do but it's very difficult? Now you have to really educate people on doing that. But basically, start building people under you. I mean, you have to start building that pyramid and building it up. And that means taking time to stop and not work in your business, but work on your business. Yep. So, I mean, it follows that whole optimize, automate, delegate. I don't know if you guys have done the 5 whys. You know, I mean, if you have problems, I always say that too. But the key takeaway is find whatever's going on, find how you can improve it, find how you can automate it, and find how you can hand it off. If you don't like doing it, you know, if you like doing it, do it. If you can handle the volume, whatever that thing is, you know.
But you also got to consider strengths. Like you may like something, but if you're really not good at it, should you be doing it? Or you may not like something, but you're really good at it. Should you be doing it?
I'm like my older brother. My older brother always wanted to play quarterback, and I was like, you know, you're not good at it. Go away.
Yeah.
But you're right. You're right. You do have to figure out what you're better at, and you have to. I think you said the key takeaway to me would be analyze yourself. Where are you failing? What is going on? Take accountability. I mean, the whole boss up concept was to delegate, but also was, you know, and we didn't plan it, but it became stop. And I tell people in my offices, I said, stop doing this and start doing this. Like, what's my part in this? I can't control you. Randy said something, da-da-da. Okay, what part of that could I have controlled? That's all I could work on, you know? So work on it.
You know, I'm gonna leave you one simple thing. Focus on solutions, not on problems.
Yes, love that.
And that's something with, as you guys are out there trying to build and grow your companies, and you're trying to learn how to delegate, you're trying to find time to work on your business and not in your business. One thing that can derail you and hold you back from leadership and from growth and from helping empower others is focusing too damn much on the problem. Stop focusing on your problem. Stop focusing on the problem at hand, the challenge. You made a mistake, so what? Learn from it. What did you learn from it? What is the solution? Focus on solutions, not the problem.
Exactly. I agree 100%. That is very key. Take ownership. Focus on the how do we fix this rather than what happened. I mean, you got to think about what happened, but don't do the woe is me. I mean, I give myself a woe is me moment of about, I'll take about 10, 15 seconds and do the woe is me. We need it. And I say, okay, now let's move on. You know, you have to. You can't stick to that.
Don't dwell. Well, thanks everybody again. This has been an awesome episode. You can find Lateef Farooqui all over the place on social media. He's on there. You could call him.
Look up Bossupsolutions. It'll be a lot easier than looking up Lateef Farooqui. I can imagine the spellings going on, you know?
Yeah, right. And same here. Make sure to check us out on the Start Build Grow Show. We also have the Roofing Academy page and the Roofing Academy Association page. And the Academy is actually open in beta mode. We are actually open in soft launch mode, so you can actually join and check out the Roofing Academy.
I got the sneak peek in. It was pretty amazing.
And we're just sneaking it out there because I'm not trying to get overwhelmed too fast, but it's going really well. We're getting some amazing feedback, and we're really excited to be gradually launching this program. So make sure to follow us, like, share. We appreciate you guys, and thank you so much. Thanks, Brian. You guys are awesome. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Randy, for bringing us on. Thanks, everybody, for being here.
Make sure to share it with your friends. We appreciate the likes, comments, and tune in next week at 6:30. Between 6 and 6:30 is our target every week. We're not going to commit to one.
Whatever works.
6:30, we will have another guest.
That's mountain time, by the way, guys. He confused me. It's mountain time, so if you're central, that's 7:30. Just want to put that out there.
Yeah, 6:30.
Good call.
Right on, man. We'll see you guys later.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate your time.
All the pleasure, buddy. Look forward to hanging out with you guys. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye.